Ever looked in the mirror and seen your parents' reflection staring back at you? It's a fascinating realization, isn't it? Those familiar eyes, that recognizable smile. They're not just products of chance. These physical resemblances are a testament to the invisible threads that bind generations together. But have you ever stopped to wonder why? Why do we bear such striking similarities to our parents? What if I told you that the secret lies in the very fabric of life itself, our genes? To understand why we resemble our parents, we first need to understand what genes are. Imagine genes as tiny instruction manuals that reside in almost every cell of your body. They're like the recipe books of life, containing precise instructions that dictate everything from your hair color to your height, and even your susceptibility to certain diseases. Now, these genes are found within structures called chromosomes, which are housed in the nucleus of each cell. Each human cell contains 23 pairs of chromosomes, making a total of 46. You inherit half of these chromosomes and the genes they carry from your mother and the other half from your father. The human body contains around 20,000 to 25,000 genes, each carrying a unique set of instructions. These instructions are coded in a language called DNA, or deoxyribonucleic acid. Each gene composed of DNA has a specific sequence of what we call base pairs. And it is this sequence that holds the information for building and maintaining an organism. Much like how different sentences in a recipe guide you to make a dish. Just as a chef might tweak a recipe, creating a dish that's unique yet reminiscent of the original, so too does nature play with our genes. This is why siblings who share the same parents and hence many of the same genes can still look and be quite different from each other. However, some traits, like eye color or certain genetic conditions, are more directly tied to our genes. If both your parents have blue eyes, for example, there's a high chance you'll also have blue eyes. This is because the genes for blue eyes are dominant, and the chances of inheriting these dominant traits are higher. But remember, genes are not destiny. While they do play a significant role in determining our characteristics, our environment and lifestyle choice also have a considerable impact on who we become. So, genes are like the blueprint of life passed down from our parents. Now that we know what genes are, how exactly do they get passed down from our parents? Well, it's all about the magic of genetic inheritance. The process of inheritance is like a game of chance, a genetic lottery, if you will. When a child is conceived, they receive half of their genes from each parent. Think of it like each parent giving you a deck of cards, and each card is a gene. You shuffle these decks together, and voila, you have your unique set of genes. Now, let's break it down a bit. Each human cell contains 46 chromosomes, arranged in 23 pairs. When a baby is conceived, it receives 23 chromosomes from its mother and 23 from its father. These chromosomes are like long strings of genes, and each gene carries instructions for various traits, like your eye color, hair type, and even your propensity to enjoy cilantro or not. This is where it gets interesting. The genes you inherit aren't a carbon copy of your parents. They're a unique mix. This is due to a process called recombination, or crossing over, where sections of DNA are exchanged between maternal and paternal chromosomes. This shuffling ensures that each child is genetically unique, unless, of course, we're talking about identical twins. Even though you get half your genes from mom and half from dad, they don't all express themselves equally. Some genes are dominant and some are recessive. Dominant genes overpower their recessive counterparts. This is why you might have your father's brown eyes, even though your mom has blue eyes. Brown is a dominant gene, while blue is recessive. Genetic inheritance is a fascinating process, full of chance and variability. It's the reason why siblings can look so different from each other, and why you might bear a striking resemblance to your great-great-grandparent. It's a beautiful blend of predictability and surprise, science and chance. And that, my friends, is how you ended up with your mom's eyes and your dad's smile. But wait, if we simply inherit our parents' genes, why aren't we exact clones of them? This compelling question brings us to the fascinating world of genetic variations. In the grand scheme of life, genes aren't just passed down from parents to offspring like a simple hand-me-down. There's a lot more going on behind the scenes. Genetic variations are the spice of life, ensuring that each one of us is unique, even when we share the same genetic code with our siblings or our parents. Let's take a closer look. Variations in our genetic material occur due to two primary factors: mutations and genetic recombination during sexual reproduction. Firstly, mutations. These are changes that occur in our DNA sequence, the genetic material that makes us who we are. Mutations can be caused by errors in DNA replication or repair, and even by exposure to certain environmental factors like radiation or chemicals. While the word mutation might sound alarming, it's important to remember that not all mutations lead to drastic changes. In fact, many mutations are harmless and can even lead to beneficial variations. Secondly, genetic recombination. During the process of sexual reproduction, specifically in a stage called meiosis, the chromosomes from each parent intertwine and exchange genetic material. This genetic shuffling, or recombination, results in new combinations of genes, which are then passed on to the offspring. This is why siblings from the same parents can be so different from each other. It's like a genetic lottery where the winning ticket is a unique combination of traits. So, while the blueprint of life, our DNA, is inherited from our parents, the way this blueprint is interpreted and expressed can vary considerably. This is due to the changes brought about by mutations and the shuffling of genes during recombination. Genetic variations are what make each of us unique. They're the reason why even identical twins have their own individual fingerprints. They're the cause of the delightful diversity we see in life around us. So, while you might share many traits with your parents, your genes are uniquely yours. Let's take a moment to recap our journey through the world of genes and inheritance. We began by probing the tantalizing question of why we resemble our parents, and discovered that the answer lies in the tiny, invisible strands of DNA known as genes. These genes are the blueprints of life, carrying instructions for making every part of our bodies, from our hair and eyes to our heart and lungs. We then delved into the mystery of how these genes are passed down from parents to offspring, a process known as genetic inheritance. We learned that each of us inherits two copies of each gene, one from our mother and one from our father, and that these genes combine in unique ways to create the unique individuals that we are. But the story doesn't end there. We also explored the fascinating world of genetic variation, which explains why siblings, despite sharing the same parents, can look and act so differently. We discovered that while genes are passed down intact, they can also mix and match in a process known as crossing over, resulting in new combinations of traits. And we learned that mutations, or changes in the DNA sequence, can also lead to genetic variation, sometimes resulting in new traits that can be passed down to future generations. And so, we've journeyed from the microscopic world of the gene to the visible traits that make us who we are, and we've discovered the intricate processes that govern inheritance and variation. We've seen how genes are not just static carriers of information, but dynamic entities that can change and evolve, shaping not just our physical appearance, but our health, behavior, and even our destiny. So, next time you spot your dad's nose or your mom's hair on yourself, you'll know exactly why. And that brings us to the end of our genetic journey. We've journeyed deep into the core of our cells, traced the winding double helix of our DNA, and discovered the secret language of our genes. We've understood how we inherit traits from our parents and why, despite the similarities, we are all unique individuals. Perhaps the most fascinating part of this journey is realizing how much more there is to explore. The world of genetics is vast and ever-evolving, with new discoveries being made every day. It's a field where the answers to old questions often lead to new mysteries, a testament to the complexity and wonder of life itself. As you step forward from this point, armed with the knowledge you've gained today, remember the key takeaways. Your genes, those tiny segments of DNA, are the blueprint of who you are. They dictate everything from the color of your eyes to your propensity for certain health conditions. However, they are not your destiny. Genetic variations and environmental factors also play a significant role in shaping you. The story of your genes is a tale of inheritance, variation, and the beautiful complexity of life. It's a narrative that's being written every moment, within every cell of your body. Remember, each one of us is a unique blend of our parents' genes, with a pinch of genetic variation thrown in for good measure. Until next time, keep exploring the world of genetics,